All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. There's not a whole lot going on out there. Not a lot to, not a lot of change in terms of, hey, there's something really different going on out there in the market or with, this stock or that stock. A few exceptions in that, things like a Target. But what a move here for Target. And absolute monster volume here coming into the stock here today. There's some individual stories going on, but bottom line, market still having a little bit of chop through it. Yesterday we saw some chop down, but on lower volume. Significantly lower volume than what we have seen on other sells here in the market. And today it just gapped up to where it was Monday and just sitting. Pretty much just sitting. No real big volumes coming into the upside or the downside. Just kind of sitting there for now. The environment, still about the same. Nothing different here, game changing or market altering here this morning. We do have the Fed minutes on tap here later today. They're going to create a small move. They definitely will. But you gotta think about it. It's the minutes from 3 weeks ago, and you have Chairman Powell on Friday. And so if you're waiting for the Fed to put money into play or to take money off the board, you're not really looking at the minutes today and going, well, this is going to I'm going to make major decisions based on this. You're looking at Chairman Powell on Friday, and what does he have to say here come Friday? Now for the challenge, there are no new triggers on the board here this morning. It is a lot of crossover action, and I'll show some of that, but it's all. It's all coming off of lows. We're starting to see some of the recent laggards start to jump a little bit, the Twilios of the world and whatnot. So we're not seeing any new signals come in. Even yesterday, we saw things like Johnson & Johnson with a downside crossover. This morning has an upside crossover. But not really going anywhere. Still in that consolidation mode. In that chop fest here, as it has been. So we have three trades on the board: Visa, Micron, Microsoft. Let's go chop the values in here. Visa, 460. So let's pop that in, 460 here. Let's go to Micron. We're looking at 255 here for Micron. And for Visa, we're looking at, my apologies, Microsoft. Microsoft here, we're looking at 280. 280. That's funny. 286 here on the options. So, we're up 600 on Visa. We're up 400 on Micron, which, let's face it, we have 3,000 into the trade. So these are very nominal option appreciations there. And we're up $20 on Microsoft. So, very little traction here. We do have the stocks going our way, right? In fact, Visa here, we entered at 178.13. And, the current stock price is 180.83. I mean, the stock's moved $2.50 in our favor. And we're up 20% on the option. That is very different than what the Delta suggested when we entered the trade. We talked about why the other day, the implied volatility and the drop in implied volatility. But we are seeing this with Visa. We're seeing it with Micron, right? With Micron, we're $1. Micron has approved, the stock's up $1 since we entered the position. And our option is, our option really just hasn't done a heck of a whole lot here as, we entered at 225 and it's now 255. Again, it's not what the delta was when we entered, but that vega, that implied volatility factor, we have just seen it sucked out of so many options and stocks out there. This is nothing unique to Visa. It's not unique to Micron, and it's not unique to Microsoft. And you can see Microsoft. We entered at $137.99. Current price is $138.79, and we're up $20. Yeah. That is when option traders say, hey, I want to pick bottoms, I want to play off the bottom. This is one of the issues that they have, when they're playing calls and puts, is you can get stock appreciation, but it doesn't necessarily translate into option appreciation, as you do have to deal with that implied volatility drop, even if the stock goes your way. So you better be right in a big way. Right, you better be right. You better be, looking at very strong moves, because if the stock is flat, you're absolutely going to lose money. And we're talking about a 2% move on Micron, almost a 2% move on Visa, to just kind of put barely any value or appreciation into the option values. Now, they are set where they get a secondary move here. The options are going to do very well. They're not going to see as much implied volatility sucked out of them. But that's the nature of what we see after sell-offs in the market, and one of the reasons why option trading can be tricky, right? And can be very, very tricky. It's not all about the stock price, and you guys know that, and we've seen it, and it's something that can you build it into the algorithm? Yeah, we can, right? And we do have, it's one of the reasons why we don't have, triggers come in on, monster moves, 2 ATR moves, because the option values just inflate way too much. And it's also one of the reasons why we don't have the algorithm set to bottom pick. Because when you're set to purely bottom pick, for something like a Halliburton, it is something where on the bottom, the implied volatility is typically the highest that it's been in a full year. And so on the way up, there's so much implied volatility loss. There's significantly less implied volatility loss when a stock is like a Microsoft, where, it's coming off of higher lows or something like that, or it's like a Visa, where it's as well coming off higher lows. There's a significant, diminishment in that implied volatility loss, but there's still some, right? And we're seeing that, even though the stocks are well in our favor there. All right, 3-7 crossovers. I want to just clarify something based on a couple of questions that came in. When I show these 3-7 crossovers, right? These are the base of the algorithm, meaning, to get a buy signal on something, for instance, a Twilio, we need to see the 3 and the 7 day moving average cross up, right? 3-day moving average cross up above the 7-day moving average. That is the principal trigger that we're using in the algorithm. That said, it's only the trigger. In and of itself, there is zero accuracy in saying, well, it has a 3-7 crossover to the upside, so let me go buy it. Or it has a 3-7 crossover to the downside, let me go buy it. That is only one small piece, and it is just the trigger, the element of consistency that we throw in, so that, hey, the community understands that that's what they need. We're not just pulling these out. We're not just making these up as we go. And when it comes down to it, you can say, well, okay, these stocks are, so these are kind of on the trade pile as potential candidates. Well, why is Disney not going to be a candidate? Well, it doesn't have a 3-7 crossover, so it's not like it could even be a candidate, here today. That said, a candidate doesn't mean it's a signal, and in fact, most 3-7 crossovers are not a signal. And so going out and say, well, I'm going to go buy puts on a J&J yesterday because of a downside 3-7 crossover. No, it needs more than that, right? Absolutely needs more than that. So I will continue to show the 3-7 crossovers just to kind of, understand, okay, which stocks on the watch list have a greater potential to move or to trigger. But please do not take these as triggers. If they're not triggers, the probability of success is not there. In fact, you could argue it's very, very muted. And so, when we take a look at Alcoa, Nike, Triple M, all of them have 3-7 crossovers. None of them have triggers here this morning. If we come in and we look at, we look here at the bearish side for crossovers. Let me throw that up here. So these are the downside crossovers. It's empty here today. So, not a whole lot in terms of triggers, and the things that have the crossovers, like an Alcoa, stocks coming off of lows, right? And it's getting its bounce. But a Twilio, you can see it's coming off of, one of its bigger sell-offs. And you know how bullish I am on Twilio long term. But, it's not a signal here today. And, the chances of it being a signal this afternoon are very, very slim. Just simply based on what it's coming off of, here in terms of the in terms of a little bit more of an extended low here on the stock. Okay. Alrighty, so that's kind of where things are. Still running with those 3 positions. They've put in about $1,000 in gains for us, but that's nothing to write home about. It's just a little bit. Last thing before I hop off, I wanted to comment on. I was asked about the choppiness in the market and how to kind of make it feel less. And how to kind of filter out some of the noise from the real price action. And it's one of those where I see a tendency with traders to do a couple things when markets get choppy. They number one, they get caught up in the, this is a all clear signal, or this is a big downside signal. This is a big upside signal. They get wrapped up into that, and they're constantly looking and trying to call, the next big wave up or the next big wave down, which gets frustrating. Right? Which gets frustrating because, you hit it for a day or two and then it chops, and then you're wrong for a day or two and you go, well, I got to back out. And then it chops the other way and you go, man, I think I was right. And then you're just, forget it. That's one tendency I see. The other tendency is to make decisions on stocks and on the market and on future trades based on option value, meaning, if an option, if you put, $1,000 on an option and you see a $300 gain, that may not have anything to do with anything, right? And it may not have anything to do with the stock price and everything else out there, and can sometimes, cause traders in choppier markets to, make decisions that aren't, necessarily valid. But they're decisions based on gain loss or option movement rather than stock movement and market movement. And there's just a little bit of a disconnect between the two in choppier markets that can come in. My biggest recommendation is when you're trading options, take a look at your percentage moves, right? For instance, yesterday, the challenge, I think, by the end of the day was down 1,300 at the end of the day. We have about $10,000 in play. So it was about a 13% move for the challenge. You think about that. Yeah, 1,300 is a big move, right? But 13%? Well, we've had way bigger moves on the challenge than that, both up and down, right? The actual volatility there was significantly less, even though the dollar volatility is significantly more. Same goes Monday, right? Monday we had 6,000 or 7,000 in play, and yeah, we saw a $1,200 gain. Okay, percentage wise, it's a little bit bigger move to the upside than the downside percentage move we saw yesterday, based on cash in play. But if we look at the overall challenge value, it's same, right? 13% gain on Monday, 13% loss on Tuesday. They're very small. They're very muted relative to other periods of the challenge. And that's one way you can look at it. I know some traders, they don't want anything to do with looking at it that way. But, if you're trying to temper some of the anxiety or some of the, feelings of, oh my goodness, what do I do? This thing's really moving. That's one way to go and look at it. If you're looking at top pick and bottom pick, you're not going to be able to get rid of those feelings. Those are always going to exist, and they're always going to be with you. But if you're just kind of, running with your own, trading account, look at the percentage move. And, if that percentage move starts to get outside the norm or outside your comfort level, then, something's going on. Something is a little bit different. You may have to look at things a little bit different. But, if things are still inside that, norm, that comfort zone, you're probably just talking about something that, is much ado about nothing and feeling the angst there of it. Okay, so not sure if that helps, but if it does, great. There with that. Okay. All right, so running here with Visa, Micron, Microsoft, and we'll be back here about a half hour after the Fed minutes. So normal time, 2:30 Eastern. We'll see how the Fed minutes affect things and go from there. Again, thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.